Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. South Korean Foreign Minister Choi Yun met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at a closed-door meeting in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, where he reportedly asked for planned tariff hikes to be reversed. This comes as the Korean government seeks to resolve issues after U.S. President Donald Trump warned that tariffs on Korea would be hiked from 15% to 25%. After the meeting, South Korea's foreign ministry said that Minister Choi Yun urged Secretary Rubio that there will be swift and substantive implementation of the November joint fact sheet, especially in nuclear energy, nuclear-powered submarines, and shipbuilding. The deployment of high-level trade figures to the U.S. reflects the deep concerns in Korea over tariffs, which could disrupt operations at Korean companies. South Korean Trade Minister Yohan Gu said he believes the Trump administration is weighing whether to officially publish planned tariff hikes on South Korea in the U.S. Federal Register. Yo told reporters ahead of his return to South Korea on Tuesday local time that Seoul is committed to existing bilateral agreements with the U.S., following talks with key government, congressional, and industry figures on the issue. He also said he held closed-door meetings with around 20 U.S. lawmakers, where he outlined legislative steps to support U.S. investment and stressed that bilateral commitments, including in non-tariff areas, are being upheld. The trade minister had been in Washington since Friday of last week for a series of meetings seeking what he called a mutually beneficial resolution to the latest trade tensions. South Korea's foreign reserves declined for the second consecutive month in January, as authorities continued efforts to stabilize the weakening won amid rising exchange rate pressures. The Bank of Korea said this morning that reserves stood at $425.91 billion at the end of January, down $2.15 billion from December. The central bank mainly attributed the drop to market stabilization measures, including foreign exchange swaps with the National Pension Service. This follows December's decrease of $2.6 billion, which marked the first decline in 7 months after 6 straight months of gains. As of late December, South Korea ranked 9th globally for foreign reserves. President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed a massive $1.2 trillion government funding package into law, ending the 4-day partial government shutdown that began last Saturday. The U.S. House passed a Bill 217 to 214 earlier on Tuesday after the Senate approved it last Friday. The package funds almost all of the federal government through the end of September, but puts the Department of Homeland Security on a 2-week stopgap that expires on February 13. Lawmakers now face a short window to negotiate a longer DHS deal as Democrats push for changes after federal agents fatally shot 2 people in Minneapolis last month. The U.S. military says it has shot down an Iranian drone that approached one of its aircraft carriers in the Arabian Sea, in the latest sign of rising tensions between Washington and Tehran. According to U.S. Central Command, the incident happened on Tuesday when an Iranian Shahed 139 drone flew toward the USS Abraham Lincoln, with what officials described as unclear but aggressive intent. The drone was ultimately downed by an F-35C fighter jet operating from the carrier. A spokesperson for U.S. Central Command said the action was taken in self-defense to protect the ship and its crew, stressing that the drone's approach posed a potential threat. The encounter comes at a sensitive diplomatic moment just days before the U.S. and Iran are set to resume nuclear talks in Istanbul. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.